Welcome, and thanks for listening to On Air with Adriel. Welcome back to On Air with Adriel. It's great to have you with us. Joining us in the studio today, first of all, we want to welcome in Todd Haynes. He is the president and CEO of Adriel. Todd, good to see you.
It's good to be back, Max. Thank you.
Well, today you brought a special guest along, and he's going to be giving us a good bit of information about what he does. Who'd you bring with you?
Well, I brought Jeff Sloat today to talk about clinical services. He's our vice president of clinical services. And, as you know, we're really excited about this series that we're about to do with you and with Adriel's Continuum of Care. The story never ends at placement. The story continues and the services that we have. And we're so happy to be able to break those services out into a few different episodes and a few different broadcasts. And today we're really, really happy to have Jeff with us because the healing nature of the clinical services, to work with a child that has experienced that trauma of being removed from their home is so important. And so we're just happy to have Jeff with us and tell a few stories and talk about the clinical services that he performs with Adriel.
Well, Jeff, it's great to have you here today. Thanks for coming out.
Max, thanks for having me.
So for our listeners who may not know what clinical services entails, please tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. The thing that we're focusing on is trauma, and that word gets thrown around quite a bit these days. And so just to center everybody, a traumatic experience is one that overwhelms somebody's ability to cope. So something happens and your brain malfunctions, you just can't cope with it. And I know in the previous episode we talked about that the children in our program did not ask to be there. There's no child that wants to be in the child welfare system. And so we also know another thing about them, they're all traumatized. So they've experienced domestic violence, they've experienced abuse, neglect, poverty. And so these are situations that change brain development. They impact the way that one relates to somebody else, the trust in adults. And so we've got a lot of work to do to help heal from that. And that starts with asking the question, what happened to you? As opposed to what's wrong with you. So we'll see behaviors in homes and things that are occurring, and foster parents are noticing that perhaps their foster child's acting in a different way than their own child is, and we want to really reset that environment to one where we're curious about what happened to you and how can we help you heal from that.
So Jeff, when kids are in crisis, they need to be seen and get with a counselor in a pretty quick fashion. Tell me how Adriel does that. What's the time window like?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that. That's something that we're proud of. Access to care is a real big problem kind of everywhere. If anybody in your listening audience has tried to go get counseling somewhere, often there's a waiting list. There's an amount of time that takes place between when you decide you need some help and even when you ask for it and when you actually have access to it. And so we've really prioritized that at Adriel. And so it's one of the things that we actually measure. And so for the last quarter, for the last 3 months, the average amount of time that goes on between when I receive a referral on my desk for clinical services and when that therapist is actually meeting with the family and the child is an average of 10 days. I think that's pretty remarkable. Often you're waiting weeks. You might wait months to have access to care. And so we want to make sure that that's not delayed. We do that a couple of ways. The first way is just to make sure that we immediately schedule, but also the referral packets that are filled out in order to make a placement with us that the County Children's Services Board would fill out also includes all of the clinical documentation. So it's not an additional step that a county caseworker would need to do. We have everything that we need right when that child is placed. So we're not waiting until, we had a great honeymoon period, the placement was going great, now all of a sudden we're having behaviors, now what do? We're already involved at that point in time. So we're involved before the honeymoon comes to an end, and we can then continue with that service.
We're trying to educate people as to the many facets of services that you folks provide. And I think there may be a mindset of, okay, well, they're going to place kids in foster care. It's not just placement, and you alluded to that a little bit, but it's the care that goes alongside the placement that you folks do. And this is something that, quite honestly, I was not aware of, and I think a lot of folks may not be, because until you're involved, you just don't know.
That's very true. And we want to support the families too. So I want to make sure that everybody who's listening understands, as much as we're concerned about every child that's placed, and that's absolutely our priority, being a foster parent's a hard job, and we don't want to have people have a great mission for their family of, we want to be a foster parent, we take the classes and we sign up, and then a child shows up at our front door, and then the agency, says good luck and leaves, and we're stuck trying to sort through, what am I supposed to do here? We don't leave anybody alone in this work. And so what we want to do is reduce transitions for kids. What we have noticed is that if a foster family is not supported, then they're going to say, you know what, I just can't do this. It's not working. I don't have what I need. The child's behaviors are disruptive, and I don't know how to respond to that. And so they'll disrupt the placement, and then there's a new home that's found for that child. Well, we want to mitigate that, because when a child bounces from one home to the next, hearing at each place, hey, we love you, you're welcome here, you're going to be supported here, and then within weeks or months that doesn't materialize, the child learns that, you know what, adults are just going to let me down. My primary family let me down. The environment I was raised in was abusive or neglectful, and there was substance abuse and violence, and so those folks weren't there for me. And then I came to a foster home, and they said they loved me, but they had to ask me to leave, and so, wow, everybody lets me down. And so we want to mitigate that. We want to reduce the amount of times that a child transitions. So our hopeful outcome is we want every child to be reunified with their primary family. We want them to go back home. We want that family to have the support that they need. If that can't happen, we'd love for them to be adopted with one of our homes.
Sure.
We want permanence for that child. What we don't want is a childhood spent bouncing from home to home and not knowing who to trust and where their foundation is.
Let's drill down a little deeper, though, on the reunification with the family. You talked about that, and obviously there's a counseling mode that has to take place for that to happen. Clinical Services does support healing for children and families. Talk about that a little, if you would.
That's right. And so one of the things that we do at Adriel that I think is a little different than some of the other agencies I've worked with is we provide support to the foster families themselves in terms of therapy and grief services for the foster parents. Let's face it, you have a child that's lived with you for a year or more, they become part of your family. Well, our foster families, and even Adriel, we don't have permanent custody of the children. The county has custody. And so if the county decides, you know what, there's a better spot, or you know what, the family's ready to receive this child at home again, the child's going to be reunified. That's a wonderful thing. Also can be a really sad thing for families where they've come to love this child and they know it's a great thing to go back home, but now there's a hole left in their family. We didn't want our own families, our own foster families, to feel like they had failed or that they're alone in that pursuit either. And so we offer grief services to our families who are just struggling with kind of coping with, I'm happy that this youth was reunified. I'm also really sad for what that means for me. And so we're happy to offer that to all of our families. We do marriage counseling to families that are struggling with marital issues as a result of the stress of being foster parents. We'll work with the adopted and biological children of our foster families, because it's not just one foster parent that decides to be involved in this mission. It's the whole family that's involved. So our clinical supports are available to everyone in the family.
Wow, this is really great. One of the other questions I want to ask you, Jeff, is I know there are a number of different agencies out there who are also in the, I hate to use the word business, of foster care and placement, but what Adriel does is so much different. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I've talked to Todd about this a little bit, but folks who maybe have been involved with maybe another organization and then got involved with Adriel can see that there's quite a difference.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. When you're a foster parent in Ohio, an agency has to hold your license. And so foster parents can choose, hey, you know what, the grass might be greener elsewhere. I'm going to choose, some other agency I want to go work with. And they'll go try them out. And we see lots of folks come back. That goes for foster parents and staff too. We hold on to our employees for a long time. And even those that decide, hey, I want to move on to something different, a lot of those folks come back. I work with a lot of people right now that left for a minute and then decided, I don't know what I was thinking. So we're a family at Adriel, and we're a family that supports families.
And Max, if I could, I've been able to go to our Christmas parties recently and talk with our foster parents. So not only our staff sees a difference in our agency, but our foster parents see a difference. And one of the things that was discussed over and over at our various gatherings is the fact that we have a Christian component to Adriel, and that they appreciate that. It's a nonprofit, but it's a Christian organization. It has been that for 129 years. And I think that that's an element that continues to rise up and be a reason that people choose Adriel, transfer to Adriel, or, as Jeff said, return to Adriel if they do leave.
Wow, that's great to hear. We have a couple of minutes left. I want to encourage people to, whatever form you're getting this program on, to continue to listen to upcoming programs. We're going to do a program soon about the Bridges program, which I'm really excited about hearing more information on. But Jeff, we appreciate having you here today. Anything else you want to tell us about clinical services at all?
Max, thank you for having me. It was an honor. I would just say to everybody who's listening, if you have a heart to learn more, visit our website, adriel.org. It'll provide any information you want to know about becoming a foster parent or other ways you can help. It is a big job to be a foster parent. You could also be a respite parent and give our parents a break. You also, if you're in a position to make a donation to our agency, I know that we are very good stewards of everything that we're blessed with, and so any number of ways that somebody could be hands and feet for the kids that we're serving.
And Todd, one more thing I want to ask you, just so people understand, ballpark is about kids needing foster parents right now in the state of Ohio. Big number.
Big, huge number. 14 to 15,000. I use the number 15,000. I think that's more accurate. In the state, 425, or in the nation, 425,000. But here in Ohio, in my opinion, when you're measuring the number by thousands, really doesn't matter if it's 14 or 15,000, it's too many. Wow. We have too many kids in foster care in Ohio. It is something that we all need to address.
And for folks who are not aware, let's talk about the impact that you're making and your offices around the state of Ohio.
Well, we have 5. We're going to soon open an office in Lima, Allen County. That should be in January, so we'll have 6. And then we have a visit space in Defiance. So we our footprint is really the service area is about 48 counties, but we work with all 88 counties in Ohio. So that's every county in Ohio.
That's tremendous. For folks who feel a call to this, that want to investigate it, Jeff gave us the website, but let's talk about reaching out locally. The website, the best way to go, Todd?
Well, it's full of information. It's a great site. It gives you a lot of different information. I always leave people with 3 things. One, pray for us. The work is hard, as Jeff said. The people that volunteer to be foster parents that come into this work, they need prayers and support. 2, get your hands dirty. Become a volunteer. Become a person who is a foster parent. Get your hands dirty. And 3, of course, if you have the resources, the donors, that's what makes Adriel different. We're able to do special things for our kids. And I've said this before, kids just simply can't put pause. They can't push pause on their life. And so the donors give us an opportunity to do those things that typical children would have access to.
You're listening to On Air with Adriel. I want to thank our guest today, Todd Haynes, President and CEO. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Max, for the invitation.
Great to see you.
We really appreciate it.
Jeff Sloat, VP of Clinical Services. Come back and see us, will you please?
Thank you, Max. Will do.
Appreciate what you're doing. And again, thanks for listening to On Air with Adriel. Thank you for listening to On Air with Adriel. For more information, please go to our website, adriel.org. That's ADRIEL.org.